Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys at Magic. This is Hunter, Riley, and Shane. Say what up, guys.
Hello. What's up, nerds?
Hey, we're back doing another video for Commander Grades, but we're on to Edge of Eternities. And a matter of fact, we were taking a look at all of the legendary creatures from the Precons. There was only 2 Precons and only 4 total legendaries, which is a stark difference in Final Fantasy because there was like 15 legends per Precon. And that was a lot. But now we're just at
Mhm.
4 total. So that's exciting.
Love it.
Before we get started, just want to remind everybody to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But also, what is this in case you're new of Commander Grades? Well, we go ahead, talk about the Commander and as a helm, not necessarily the deck of the Precon itself, but that does help for these videos. And then we give it a grade, and we get an average grade between all of us. So, this is just our opinions. Comment down below if you agree or disagree on those opinions. But let's get started with this first one. It is the Helm of the World Shaper Precon. This is Hearthhull, the Worldseed. It's 1 black, red, green for a legendary artifact spacecraft. It's got station. With 2+ charge counters, it has an ability where you can pay 1, tap it, and sacrifice a land. Draw 2 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. And at 8+ charge counters, it's got flying, vigilance, haste, and says whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life, and it's a 6/7. If you guys haven't already seen it, we've already upgraded this with the $100 and $300 upgrades. If you haven't seen those, check the links in the description. But Riley was the one that went ahead and upgraded World Shaper. Riley, we'll start with you. How do you feel about Hearthhull, the spacecraft?
Just to go ahead and like preface with all of this is like the only experience that I have playing around with this card is through the lens of like upgrading the precon itself. So that's mainly where a lot of my opinions are going to be formed. Um, I'm actually not super sold on spacecraft. It's a new card type I need to play around with a little bit more. But from my experience with this, it's just oftentimes, I don't know, I feel like they oftentimes just perform really clunky. They are not only a mana investment that does nothing the turn that it drops, but this one on top of that, like getting to +8 where this thing actually turns on and starts to become relevant can be kind of a challenge. I do like being able to draw cards. I mean, that +2 is like pretty nice, but it creates a little bit of a sequencing thing where it's like you're a land stack, you want to be drawing a lot of like big things to be able to put into play, but you also now need your small things that are going to be into play before this. That way you can start to station. And a board wipe just it not only sets you back, I think it just like takes you out of the game.
It's kind of interesting, the whole spacecraft mechanic as a whole. The reason is, well, yes, this comes down as an artifact that does absolutely nothing until you start actually stationing it. I hate the fact that station is at sorcery speed. It's really unfortunate, unlike the crew ability with vehicles, where you can do it at instant speed of whenever you want. Don't know why there's a difference. Maybe I'm missing something. Comment down below why this could be too powerful at instant speed. It just reminds me of legitimately vehicles. Vehicles do the same thing. Granted, there are abilities that you unlock over time with this, but either way, I don't get it. Do you have any idea, Riley? Do you have any idea why that would be not instant speed?
I really don't. And even your comparison with vehicles, like once this does eventually manage to get the 8+ charge counters on it, one of the advantages of playing around with a vehicle, especially now that you can have legendary vehicles, is that they kind of have like this like built-in pseudo protectionish and that they're not always a creature. So removal isn't always just like readily available to hit it. Once you station this to 8, it is always there. It's always a creature, it's always around, and it's also, of course, always an artifact.
Yeah, and I think the only advantage I feel like this has is it probably will get stationed pretty quickly, pretty early. You have another creature on the field. You play this for 4. You station it that same turn. It's now online for the rest of the game at that 2+. That's an advantage, I'd say. And then for whatever reason, if you want, like, yeah, I can't see myself stationing for 8. I don't know, Shane. What about you?
The only thing I can think of is it's got to be something to do with the power that they're stapling onto these, because vehicles are good. Don't get me wrong, but these have a lot of text on them. And I know that Riley said they could be slow, and I agree, they will be slow. But, I mean, unless you're playing against combo decks, I'd be okay with playing a little longer deck with these. A little longer game. I mean, like, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to just have interesting games, I think. I'm actually very excited to play with them.
Yeah,
I don't
it's a
know.
cool card.
I wish that it did have like an ETB or something that way I could get some form of immediate value. Because if this does get removed, it just needs to restation, which can easily take 2 to 3 turns.
That's true. Well, I still think it's a pretty cool card at that 2+, regardless. Just having an artifact that just sits there. Artifact removal's a little bit less played rather than just creature removal. So this will do the thing on its own, just sitting there as an artifact, which is just in your command zone. So it's cool in that regards. But I think we can move on to the grades. We will start with you, Riley. What are you giving it?
I think I'm actually going to be a little bit of a downer on this. I feel like I have a tendency to just like not be a big fan of the legendary creatures for decks that I upgrade. I don't know. On the bright side, we're going to talk about another one here right after this that I'm much more of a fan of, but I'm actually going to go with a D.
I'm actually going to give this just middle of the road. This is a C for me. I think Spacecraft is a very interesting lane. We'll see if they do it in the future sets, because this is the first set they've ever done it. Maybe they'll play around with power later down the road, but C.
I think I'm in the middle of the road with this one as well. Give it a C.
Well, Hearthhull, the Worldseed, is kicking off this video as an average of a C. Moving on to the backup for the World Shaper deck, it's Szarel, Genesis Shepherd. It is 2 black, red, green for a 2/5 legendary creature insect druid. It's got flying. It says you may play lands from your graveyard. And it says whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Szarel's power on up to one other target creature. Once again, if you wanted to see these upgrades for this one at the helm, down in the description. But Riley, you alluded to you liking this more than Hearthhull. How do you feel about Szarel?
Having a commander that says you can play lands from your graveyard is such a cool ability. If you play with even like the lowest power fetch lands, your deck has the potential to go just kind of absolutely bonkers. And the fact that you're rewarded for doing this by being able to distribute those +1/+1 counters, you can do this multiple times a turn, not just like the once per turn kind of stipulation. So if you have a couple of different times which you're going to be sacrificing lands, which is very easy to do, you could distribute quite a bit of counters that way.
Yeah. I mean, besides the during your turn, I felt like you were just attracted to this card just because, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Carmen for you, where you like to have that sacrifice thing, do something with the sacrifice because you are a big fan of that kind of aristocrat. I'm trying to sacrifice my own things for value. And that's what this card is doing for you, right? You're sacrificing your own things for value, and then you're going to do that again from the graveyard. This one happens to be lands. You're going to strip mine the table. It's going to be annoying. But yeah, definitely having that text, if you could play lands from your graveyard on a commander, makes this very powerful. If I wasn't already playing Lord Windgrace, this might be the helm of the deck just because I like to do that kind of thing as well. And yeah, this even slides into Lord Windgrace. I like this as a card.
I think it's super cool to see what you alluded to, the like pseudo aristocrat style, even if it's not just only lands, in this color combination too. I really am a big fan of this because I want to be playing a deck that I'm just filling my graveyard up with tons of stuff, maybe even lands. You know what I mean? You could play them from there. Like there's just in this color combination, you have a lot going on here. I guess unless you can bump this up, you're only ever really getting 2, but I imagine you can make this way bigger than 2.
Oh, without a doubt. You just put equipment on this, you put counters on this, you just make this bigger, 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 make other things bigger, bigger, bigger. You're going to wreck some people. But Riley, we will start with you for the grades. Once again, what are you giving Szarel?
I like Szarel a lot. I think that he is, I don't want to say like a great value as far as like mana value or anything like that, but he has the abilities where it's like he can start to do things immediately upon entering play. And a lot of synergies I felt really weren't very mana intensive with him. I'm gonna go with a B.
You know, I think I kind of agree with you. I think Szarel is powerful enough. It is 5 mana, so it's a little bit more, but you are in green, so you're going to ramp there. Plus, you're obviously a lands deck, so lands are not going to be an issue to get Szarel out multiple times. This is a B for me.
Yeah, dude, this color combination, this style of what you're trying to do, 5 is not a problem. I believe he's a B as well.
Well, there we go. Szarel, Genesis Shepherd, gets the average grade of a B. Next up, we're moving on to the Counterintelligence Precon deck. It is helmed by Inspirit Flagship Vessel. It's a blue, a red, and a white for a legendary artifact spacecraft. Once again, it has station, and at 1+ charge counters, it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put your choice of a +1/+1 counter or 2 charge counters on up to one other target artifact. And then at 8+ charge counters, it's got flying. It says other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible, and it turns into a 5/5. Shane, you were the one that upgraded counterintelligence. Once again, if you guys wanted to see those upgrades, down in the description for Inspirit at the helm. How do you feel about this as a commander, Shane?
This thing, I think, from what I said about the last spacecraft, I think this one with the 1+, that ability that it has there, I think is really strong. So just having that static on your commander, being a little harder to remove, an artifact that's just sitting there, giving you just counter after counter after counter, I think it's really good. And I also think that I didn't know how much charge counters matter on artifacts until I had this deck and upgraded it. There are so many good artifacts that care about charge counters and like a good amount of charge counters. Just being able to dump 2 every time on you go to combat, it's really powerful, dude. I mean, granted, if you get to 8, that's kind of not like a win more, but getting hexproof indestructible, obviously super good. But I think just that 1+, you can just sit there for a while if you want and just generate tons of value.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Just at 1+, this coming down at 3, where Hearthhull came down at 4, and also had the ability of making you pay 1, tapping it, and also doing other things. This just sits around and, like Shane said, just gathers value at that 1, growing your creatures, growing your artifacts, growing your other spacecrafts if you have other spacecrafts. I think this is a lot better than Hearthhull, wouldn't you say, Riley?
I actually do agree. I think as far as like what the two are doing, the +1 of this is like it's relevant. I'm not super in love with the +1/+1 counter. I actually agree more with Shane's take on the charge counters. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with that. And then this is a card that like whenever you do finally manage to like to station it up to 8 or more, your board as a whole becomes a serious threat. And in many ways, I feel like that kind of fixes the problem that I was running in with Hearthhull of just like without the board, this card does nothing. And like a board wipe just wrecks me. Whereas this has that built-in protection. So I like this one a lot more.
It's very cool. Let's move on to the grades. Shane, what are you giving Inspirit?
I know it's a spacecraft and it might be a little clunky and weird, but I'm gonna stick with a B on this, honestly. I think I like it a lot.
Yeah, Shane, I'm gonna go 1 lower. I'm still not completely sold just as a spacecraft mechanic, so I'm gonna give this a C.
I agree with Hunter on this. I'm also going to go with the C.
Inspirit Flagship Vessel gets the average grade of a C. And the backup to counterintelligence and the final card we're talking about in this quick little video is Kilo Apogee Mind. It's blue, red, and white for a 3/3 legendary artifact creature robot artificer. It's got haste, and it says whenever Kilo becomes tapped, proliferate. Once again, for the last time, check the description for those upgrades using Kilo that Shane did. But Shane, how do you feel about Kilo?
Oh boy. Oh boy, do I like this card a lot. I think that it does, for the amount that it does, which is just literally the 1 line of text. I think it does so much that I love doing. After upgrading this deck, I don't really ever go down the whole combo-y route just because it's not my playstyle. But I just saw how easy this dude in your command zone is part of a like numerous infinite combos that mainly just give you proliferation, which is perfect. But I think it's great. I think that you're gonna build a deck around him or upgrade the deck, whatever way you want to play it. With things that care about proliferating, obviously. You're gonna be maybe splashing some poison in there, maybe putting some things that have counters in there, things that can start out small with modular, grow. Like I just think there's a lot that he brings to the table, and I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah, Shane, you took a route that Steven normally takes, and that is the combo route. But after seeing it, using the same kind of card, Steven took his combo route when he upgraded Yuna with the freed from the reel of tapping it and untapping it. You doing that with Kilo and just, I don't know, giving one person or the board a poison counter is just, end game. Or just, and I'm going to make this a giant and swing at someone. It's ridiculous how easy you can tap and untap this with just 2 cards.
I definitely think that this card is like just straight up nutty. Not only the fact that it's relatively low, it's only 3, and it comes in with haste. So for the most part, you can start the shenanigans immediately with this. But like what you guys had already mentioned too, proliferation, not just being able to put +1/+1 counters on things, but doing so much more than that. Like we already talked about Infect, but I mean, I look at this like this is the perfect color combination that they've been pushing energy in lately. So you can be playing around with that. Um,
Experience.
experience counters being another one, which is like impossible to get rid of. So you could do all of that, or just like the charge counters, like what we saw with the previous commander, because I know that charge counters are going to work really well here. So
Yeah.
I like this. I don't know. I could even be a horrible human being and play around with like stun counters, and then just make sure my opponents never get things.
Never get to tap their stuff. And the cool thing about this is that you use this to station, you add charge counters, and then it sees that this was tapped, and then it proliferates those charge counters
Yeah.
that you just stationed. So it actually works so well. Or like you
So well.
mentioned, it's got haste. You swing in right away, and it proliferates. It's crazy how good this card is.
I just think that it's cool how basic of a text is on this creature. In the Precon, if you're upgrading it, obviously, Precon's not totally centered around him, obviously. But if you were to build this from the ground up, there's just, you can take it in so many different directions, like Riley said. Like, I love commanders like that, where they're just kind of like, which way do you want to go?
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the grade. Shane, Kilo, what are you giving it?
I'm going to do it, man. I love this card a lot. I'm giving it an A.
I see the ceiling as well. It's an A for me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. I'll give this one an A.
Kilo, Apogee Mind gets the average grade of an A. And that is it. Quick, easy, simple, to the point. 4 legends down. We're done. That's it. Precon, Edge of Eternities, done. What was your guys' opinions on these cards? Were we right in our assessments? Or maybe we were wrong about the spacecrafts. Comment down below. Interested in your guys' opinions. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because you don't want to miss out on the other stuff that we're putting out. We've got some cool content coming, and we appreciate all of your support. Also, in the links in the description, not only will you find all those upgrades that I talked about throughout the videos, you'll find links to our social media accounts. Follow us on those to keep up to date with everything else that we got going on. And on the screen right now, all of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your added support. It really does mean the world to us. If you guys wanted to check out what they're seeing, which is not here on YouTube, please check the link in the description below and also consider subscribing. And a very special shout out to our Gains Indestructible tier, starting with
Aaron Hill,
Aaron Martin,
Brian Ganella,
Daryl Tripp,
Demarion Turner,
Dr. Rome,
Yasminder Pablo,
Jimmy Ward,
Jay Pizzle,
Kevo,
Larry Killian,
Samuel Abbott,
Stingrazor 1144,
Thrifty PSGR,
and William Colombo. You guys are awesome. Appreciate every single one of you. And until the next video, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Laters.
bye-bye.